The sky was gray over the old Earth colony. Trees had grown between broken buildings. Vines climbed over metal walls, and tall grass covered the streets. Machines once used by humans were now silent. Everything looked empty, forgotten by time. But it wasn't truly empty. Something was watching, from the highest point of a ruined tower. An alien figure stood still. Her name was Velra. She came from a proud warrior race called the Varkari. They were known across many stars for being hunters. Strong, fast, fearless. For them, hunting was not just sport. It was a tradition. Velra had come to this lost human colony for one reason: to complete her rite of passage, to earn her mark as a true hunter. She had to hunt a human. Not just any human, one who had survived alone. Long ago, the Varkari had fought. They thought the humans would be easy to defeat, but humans had surprised them. They were smaller, not very strong, and didn't have claws or tough skin. But they were clever. They built strange weapons. They never gave up. Even when they were losing, they found ways to fight back. That made them dangerous and valuable. For a Varkari, hunting a human meant respect. Velra had been sent to this colony after picking up a weak distress signal. The colony was supposed to be abandoned, but something about the signal felt different, not machine-made. It was a human's voice, tired, faint, but still alive. She landed quietly, searched the area, found no cities, no guards, no patrols, but she found signs. Broken footprints near a burned-out fire, a piece of fabric hanging from a metal pipe, a handmade tool buried in the dirt. Someone was still here. She followed the signs. They led her to the edge of the forest where the colony ended, deep inside the trees. She watched from a distance. Her eyes, sharper than any human's, caught sight of movement. A man, dressed in rough clothes, walked with care through the trees. His name was Tom. Velra learned his name from a hidden recording she found in an old supply station. He had recorded messages for rescue ships, though no one ever came. He spoke. Slowly, clearly tired, but calm. He had survived for more than a year in the forest, completely alone. That impressed Velra. She watched as he checked traps, gathered roots, and fixed an old water pipe. He moved with purpose, never wasting time. He knew someone might be watching. He never stayed in one place. Every move was smart, careful. Not fast, but planned. Velra had hunted many creatures before. Beasts from wild planets, fast flyers, cave monsters. But none of them thought like this human. He wasn't the strongest, but he was sharp and patient. That made him worthy prey. She decided not to strike right away. Killing him from a distance would be too easy. It would not earn her respect. The Varkari believed in fair hunts. The prey must know they are being chased. They must try to run, try to survive. Only then does the hunt become real. Velra wanted this to be real. So she waited. She moved through the trees like a shadow. She followed him for days, watching how he survived, noticing how he avoided danger. He used old machines to build simple tools. He sharpened sticks into weapons. He gathered wild food and boiled it before eating. He was smart. She grew curious. He did not act like a soldier anymore. He was not fighting anything. He was simply living. One night, she broke one of his traps and left a mark nearby, just a small sign, enough for him to see it and wonder. The next morning, he found it. Velra watched from high in the trees. Tom crouched beside the broken trap. He didn't speak, didn't shout, but his eyes changed. He stood up slowly and looked around. He knew someone was there. Still, he didn't run instead. He packed his things and moved deeper into the forest. Velra smiled. The hunt had begun. She followed again. Now, Tom was more careful. He moved slower, checking the ground before every step. He covered his tracks with leaves. He set more traps, this time hidden better. He left false trails that led nowhere. It was no longer survival. It was strategy. He was trying to outsmart her. Velra was excited. She had never hunted prey like this before. She followed one of the false trails and ended up near a dry stream. There, a trap snapped. It didn't catch her, but it was close. A small spike flew past her arm and hit a tree behind her. She turned quickly but saw no one. Tom was gone. She could not stop the laugh that came from her mouth. A deep, low sound. This was not just a hunt anymore. It was a challenge. That night, Velra climbed a tall tree and looked over the forest. The stars above were bright. Her people lived for the hunt, for the test of skill, for moments like this. But something felt different this time. She didn't feel the usual thrill of chasing weak prey. She felt something deeper. Curiosity. Respect. And a question she couldn't answer. Why did this human keep surviving? Why didn't he call for help anymore? Why didn't he give up? Velra thought of her own people. Varkari did not hide. They attacked. They conquered. They proved their strength. But Tom had not fought her. He had simply walked away. She closed her eyes and listened to the forest. The hunt was still on. But inside her, something was changing. She was no longer just the hunter, and she didn't know why. The forest was thick with fog the next morning. Tom moved like a shadow under the trees. His steps were soft. He avoided dry branches and stepped only on stone or wet soil. The air was damp, and small birds flew away as he passed. His hands were steady. His eyes searched every branch, every patch of leaves, every corner of the land around him. He knew something was hunting him. Tom had spent more than a year surviving alone on this ruined planet. He had escaped beasts, hunger, and storms, but this was different. This was not nature. It was something trained, something silent. And patient. He had seen the mark left near his trap. Not a mistake, a message, a warning. Whoever was out there had been following him for days. They had watched without making a sound. No animal moved like that. No machine stayed hidden for this long. It was a hunter, one that wanted to test him. Tom didn't know what they wanted. He didn't care. He only knew he had to keep moving. Above him, high in the trees, Velra followed with quiet steps. Her armor blended into the bark and leaves. She used no scanners, no drones. Only her eyes, her instincts, and her training. She watched as Tom stopped by a stream and drank water from a bamboo tube. He didn't stay long. Within moments, he was on the move again. Velra was impressed. Most prey would have panicked by now. They would have run in circles or shouted into the air for help. But Tom was calm, careful, focused. She moved around him in wide circles, staying out of his sight every time he turned. She was already gone from that spot. He left traps in his path, some made from branches, some with sharpened metal. She avoided them all. Still, she left small signs behind, a disturbed bush, a footstep where none should be, a scratch on a tree. She wanted him to feel the pressure. Tom was not afraid, but he was alert. His heart beat faster than usual, but not out of fear. It was focus. He checked the sky through the trees. No ships, no drones, only clouds. He was alone, but not alone. He found a hill with rocks covering one side. He climbed it slowly and sat behind a stone wall that once belonged to an old human outpost. He rested his back against the stone and pulled out a small device. It was broken, but he had been fixing it piece by piece. A weak signal blinked on. It screamed. Still no answer. He sighed. Then he heard it, a soft sound in the distance. A branch snapping. It was light, like a foot touching down and lifting again. Too light for a beast, too fast for wind. He picked up a sharp stick, one he had carved days ago, and crawled into a small hole between the rocks. He stayed still, silent. Velra arrived minutes later. She stood on the hill, looking around. She saw the signs of movement, but no human. The place was quiet, too quiet. She took one step forward. Then something moved, not behind her. Above. A small rock fell from the wall. Tom jumped from behind and swung his stick at her. It scraped her shoulder and made her stumble. She turned quickly, shocked by the surprise. But Tom was already moving again, running down the hill into the trees. Velra looked at her armor, a small scratch. No real damage, but it had been close and clever. She grinned. He had waited for her. Set a trap. That was rare. She jumped from the hill and gave chase. Tom ran through the trees. avoiding traps he had set earlier. He moved like he had planned every step. He wasn't trying to escape far. He was leading her somewhere. Velra followed fast. Her movements were smooth, almost silent. She avoided branches, ducked under low-hanging vines, and leapt over rocks. After 10 minutes, she slowed. She sensed something to quiet again. Then she saw it, a net trap hanging from a tree, almost invisible. It was a clever one. If she had stepped on the trigger, the whole thing would have dropped and pinned her to the ground. She walked around it with care. Tom had already vanished again. Velra stood still. She was no longer just chasing a target. This was a true hunt. Tom had learned her rhythm. He was testing her as much as she was testing him. He didn't have weapons like hers. No armor, no scanner. But he used what he had. His mind, his memory of the land, his will. She respected that. She climbed a tall tree and waited. Her eyes scanned the area. The sun was higher now. Heat warmed the leaves, and birds began to sing again. She thought about ending it now. She could attack him from above, quick and easy. But she didn't move. She watched instead. Tom appeared again, walking along a narrow trail. He looked up at the sky, then toward the place where she had been standing earlier. She wondered if he knew she was still watching. He stopped near an old water station and sat down. He pulled out a map made from old paper and marked something on it. His face was serious, focused. Tired, but not broken. Velra felt a strange feeling inside her chest. She had hunted many before, but none like this. This human wasn't just surviving. He was teaching her something. Without speaking a word, she stayed in the tree until nightfall. Tom lit a small fire far from his shelter, likely to trick anyone watching. Then he slept inside a covered hole made from stone and leaves. She stayed awake, watching the stars through the trees. The hunt was not over, but something inside her had changed. Velra had hunted in many places before, across deserts, caves, and alien forests. She had chased beasts twice her size and tracked enemies through firestorms. But this hunt was different. This human, Tom, did not act like prey. He was more like a rival, careful, alert, and full of quiet strength. It had been over a week since she first spotted him. Every day, she followed from a distance. Every night, she watched from the trees. And every morning, Tom surprised her again. He never stopped adapting. He never made the same mistake twice. Velra was starting to enjoy it, but she still planned to win. That morning, she moved along a ridge, scanning the valley below. It was quiet. The forest floor was covered in mist. Her senses picked up the faint sound of water nearby. A small stream flowed through the rocks. She knelt and studied the path. She had followed Tom's trail here. Then something changed. The tracks were too clear, too easy to find. Velra narrowed her eyes. She crouched low, touched a leaf, then stepped aside. Her fingers found a thin wire across the ground. A trap. She smiled. Tom had set this one just for her. It wasn't meant to kill, just to warn him, maybe slow her down. That made it more interesting. She disarmed the wire and kept moving. She could feel his presence ahead. Not far now. Meanwhile, Tom had climbed into a tall tree. He lay on his stomach across a thick branch, holding a small handmade viewer built from scavenged parts. He scanned the woods below and waited. He had spotted her a few times now, shadows in the trees, small movements that didn't belong. He didn't know what kind of being she was. He had never seen her face clearly, but he knew she was watching, testing him, and now he was testing her. Tom had grown tired of being followed. He had accepted that someone was out there, but he wasn't afraid anymore. This planet had taken everything from him already. Fear didn't help him survive. Only focus did. He waited until she passed below his tree, then dropped a stone down the opposite side. The sound echoed. Velra turned sharply and stepped back toward the noise. Tom watched her from above. She moved smoothly, her body alert. Her armor reflected little light. He saw a silver shine across her back and strange glowing lines across her neck. She wasn't human, but she wasn't wild either. She was something else. Tom climbed down silently and moved through the underbrush. He knew she would notice if he ran. So he walked slowly, using the trees to hide his path. He led her toward an old ruin he had discovered weeks ago, a half-buried bunker, half covered in moss and vines. It was the only place where he could control the field. Velra followed the sound again, passing between two stone pillars. She paused, sensing something nearby. Her eyes moved across the forest. The light was dim now. Clouds above blocked the sun. Rain was near. A small rock rolled down the hill. She stepped forward and suddenly dropped. The ground gave way. She crashed into a pit hidden under dead leaves and branches. It wasn't deep, but enough to shock her. She hit the bottom hard and rolled to one side. Her arm scraped against a metal spike. Blood trickled down, but the wound was small. She stood quickly and looked up. Tom stood at the edge, holding a wooden spear in one hand. For a few seconds, neither moved. Tom didn't throw the spear. Velra didn't reach for her weapon. She looked at him, truly looked. His clothes were torn. His face had a small scar across the chin. His eyes were sharp, focused, but not hateful. He looked tired, but calm. Then something happened that surprised them both. Tom dropped the spear and tossed a med patch down into the pit. Velra stared at it. No words were spoken. He turned and walked away. Velra picked up the patch and looked at it. It was one of the old ones used by human soldiers. Simple, but useful. She pressed it against her arm. The patch began to close the wound, cooling her skin. She sat down on a rock inside the pit and looked up at the gray sky. The hunt had changed. She had been chasing him like a beast, waiting for the right moment to strike. But now he had spared her, not because he was weak, but because he chose not to hurt her. That made her think. No prey had ever done that. No enemy had ever shown her that kind of choice. When night came, she climbed out of the pit and moved carefully through the trees. She didn't track him this time. She sat near a stream, listening to the water flow. Her armor was damaged, but she didn't repair it yet. Her mind was full. Back at his camp, Tom lit a small fire near the wall of the bunker. He sat alone, holding a metal cup with warm water. He didn't smile, but he didn't frown either. He thought about the one chasing him, whoever she was. She wasn't just a killer. She had chances to attack, but didn't. She watched more than she struck. And when he had looked into her eyes, he didn't see rage. He saw thought, like she was asking herself questions, like him. He lay back against the stone wall and stared at the stars. The night was quiet again. No machines, no voices, just trees and sky. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel completely alone. The sky opened just before sunset. Thick gray clouds poured rain across the forest. Water dripped from every leaf. The ground turned soft and muddy. Small streams formed in the lower areas, and animals hid inside burrows and trees. The fireflies did not come out that night. Tom wiped water from his face as he moved through the woods. His coat was soaked, but he didn't stop. He knew he had to reach the stone bunker before the storm got worse. The old shelter had one dry corner, and it was the only place nearby where he could rest without drowning in mud. He had no idea Velra was heading to the same place. She had been following from a distance again, but this time not to hunt. She had not tried to set traps or confuse his path. Instead, she had kept her distance. She had watched his movements, curious now more than ever. The moment in the pit had changed something inside her. No human had ever offered her help. He could have let her bleed, but he didn't. Now the rain was heavy, and her armor systems slowed. Her legs were strong, but the soaked earth made every step harder. She moved carefully through the trees until she reached the bunker's side wall. Moss covered most of it. Only one corner remained open. She entered silently. And found Tom already inside. He had built a small fire using dry fuel from an old supply box. Smoke rose through a crack in the ceiling. He didn't see her at first. He was bent over the flames, warming his hands. Velra stayed in the shadows. Then he turned his head slightly and spoke. "I know you're there," he said calmly. Velra stepped out from behind the stone. Her tall figure was quiet, but her presence filled the room. Tom stood, his hands away from any weapon. "You followed me again," he said. Velra looked at the fire. The warm glow reflected in her eyes. Water dripped from her hair and armor. "I was not hunting," she said. Her voice was strange, deep and smooth. The words came slowly, like someone still learning, but she spoke clearly. Tom was surprised. He had not expected her to speak his language. "Then what were you doing?" he asked. Velra walked closer to the fire and sat across from him. She placed her hands near the heat. Steam rose from her armor. "I wanted to see," she said. "Why?" "You let me go." Tom did not answer at once. He looked at the fire, then at her face. "You were wounded," he said. "It didn't feel right." Velra tilted her head. "Your kind are not known for mercy," she said. Tom gave a short laugh. "My kind are gone. I'm just one man left behind." Silence filled the room. Only the sound of rain and fire remained for a while. Velra looked at him closely. His face was tired, but not broken. His hands were rough from work. His eyes held questions, but also strength. "You survived long here," she said. Tom nodded. "I didn't plan to, but the planet didn't let me die either." "Why stay?" she asked. "You could try to escape. There's no ship," he said, "and no one out there is coming." Velra did not speak for a moment. Then she said, "I came because of a signal." "A voice." "That was mine," Tom said. "Old recording. I stopped sending new ones. No one was listening." Velra looked down at her hands. She had believed humans were proud, loud, fighters without end. But this one had stayed silent, not because he was weak, but because he had accepted the truth. "I was told to hunt you," she said. Tom looked at her again. And now, Velra didn't answer. Instead, she removed her shoulder armor and placed it beside her. The firelight showed a healing wound across her arm, the same spot where she had fallen into the trap. "You still could," Tom said softly. "I don't want to," Velra said. "Not anymore." A long pause followed. Rain hit the roof in steady beats. The fire crackled. Tom leaned back against the wall. He was still unsure what to think. Just days ago, she had been a silent danger in the trees. Now she sat across from him, calm and wounded, talking, thinking. "You could leave now," Tom said. "I won't stop you." Velra shook her head. "I have nowhere to go tonight. My ship is far. Storm damaged its path controls. I came on foot." "Then stay," Tom said. "I don't mind." Velra looked at the fire again. She felt warmth, not just from the flames, but from the silence between them. It was not heavy, not sharp, just quiet, comfortable. "Thank you," she said. Tom nodded. He handed her a small packet of dried fruit. She took it carefully, studied it, and then ate slowly. They shared the fire through the night, two souls from different worlds. Not hunter and prey. Not enemies, just two beings who had survived too long alone. Morning came with soft light. The rain had stopped, but drops still clung to the leaves outside. Mist covered the forest, making it quiet and still. Inside the old stone bunker, the fire had died down to glowing coals. Tom opened his eyes slowly. His back hurt from sleeping on hard ground, but he was used to that now. He looked across the small room. Velra was sitting at the entrance, watching the trees. She had not slept. Her armor was dry now, and her wound had closed. Her tall frame sat like a statue, quiet and alert. Tom stood and stretched. Velra turned her head slightly but said nothing. "Still here," Tom said, his voice calm. Velra nodded once. No reason to leave. Tom poured the last of his clean water into a pot and set it over the warm coals. "There's a stream near the edge of the cliff," he said, "clean enough to refill." "I saw it," Velra replied. Tom looked at her. "You were following me longer than I thought." "Yes," she said. "I watched you for many days." Tom sat down on a flat stone and looked into the fire. "You're not like the others." Velra turned toward him. "What do you mean?" "I've seen hunters before. Machines, alien scouts. They shoot first. No questions. You didn't. You waited. You learned. Velra did not deny it. I came to test you, hunt you. It was the task given to me. But something changed. Tom said. Velra looked out into the trees again. You are not what I was told to expect. You think before you act. You show mercy. That is rare. Tom didn't answer right away. Then he said, I didn't show mercy. I made a choice. Velra stood and walked to the fire. What kind of choice? To end the cycle. Tom said, you chase, I run. You fight, I fight back. That cycle never ends. I didn't want it anymore. Velra listened carefully. Then, she sat beside him. They shared the quiet again. Outside, birds began to sing. Sunlight broke through the clouds. The forest felt alive once more. After breakfast, Tom gathered his tools and stood. I'm going north today, he said. There's an old supply cache buried near the hills. I marked the location months ago. Velra stood too. You may need help. Tom looked at her, surprised. You want to come? Velra gave a small nod. Yes. Tom handed her a small pack. Then let's move. They walked side by side through the forest. The mud slowed their steps, but they moved steadily. Tom explained the terrain, pointing out paths he had cleared before. Velra listened and scanned the area with her sharp eyes. At one point, a wild creature crossed their path, a four-legged animal with sharp horns and fast legs. It snarled and prepared to charge. Velra raised her arm, but Tom stopped her. Wait, he said. He reached into his pouch and threw a smoke bomb on the ground. The creature backed off, confused, then ran away into the woods. Velra lowered her arm. You knew it would work, she said. I've seen that one before, Tom replied. It doesn't like smoke. Velra looked at him with new understanding. You learn from everything, she said. So do you? Tom answered. By midday, they reached the hill. The ground was firm here, with old stone under the soil. Tom began digging while Velra kept watch. After an hour, he pulled out a rusted metal box. Inside were food packs, a water purifier, and a few power cells. Still good, Tom said. Velra examined one of the power cells. My communicator uses this type. Tom handed it to her. Take it. Velra was quiet for a moment. Then she accepted it. They sat under a tree and shared one of the food packs. It was dry but filling. Velra seemed more relaxed now. Her body language had changed. Her eyes were softer. I never expected to speak with a human, she said. I never expected to survive this long, Tom replied. Do you miss your people? Velra asked. Tom nodded. Every day. Velra looked down. I do not miss mine. Tom raised an eyebrow. Why? They live only for battle. Honor through strength. Emotion is weakness to them. But you feel things, Tom said. Yes, she answered, and I hide it. You don't have to hide it here. Velra looked at him again. This time, her expression was not cold or unreadable. It was thoughtful. I know, she said. They walked back as the sun began to lower. Shadows grew longer. The forest came alive with color and sound. Birds called from the trees, and insects hummed in the grass. Back at the bunker, Tom stored the supplies while Velra cleaned her armor. He watched her for a moment. You're not just a hunter, he said. And you're not just prey, she replied. That night, they sat by the fire once more. This time, closer than before. The silence between them was not cold. It was peaceful, full of unspoken thoughts and quiet understanding. To beings from different worlds, once enemies, now allies. Something had started between them, something that neither fully understood yet, but they both knew one thing. The forest no longer felt lonely. The next few days passed in silence, but it was not the same kind of silence from before. Now it was calm, comfortable. Tom and Velra had started to understand each other. They worked together without needing many words. Tom taught Velra how to set traps that didn't kill but warned of movement. Velra showed him how to track by scent and foot pressure. They trained together in open space near the cliffs. Sometimes they tested speed, sometimes strength. Velra always won in power. Tom won in patience. At night, they sat by the fire. They spoke about things slowly, carefully. Tom told her about Earth, about cities and oceans. Velra told him about her world, covered in stone towers and endless wars. He could see that she was different from her kind. One morning, as the sun rose, the peace broke. A low humming sound came from the sky. Tom froze. He had heard that sound before. It was not a bird, not a storm. It was something worse. Vlra stood. At once, her head tilted. Ship, she said. Tom grabbed his gear quickly. Yours? He asked. Velra shook her head. It's not my tribe. Their engines are smoother. This one, older, rougher. Marks, Tom guessed. Hunters, she replied. Not mine. Worse, a shadow passed over the trees. A long black ship moved across the sky and dropped into the forest beyond the ridge. They saw smoke from our fire, Tom said. Velra looked at him. We must leave, now. They packed what they could and moved fast through the forest. Tom led the way. Velra moved behind, her eyes scanning for movement. They reached higher ground and hid behind rocks. From there, they saw the landing zone. 3 armored figures stepped out of the ship. Their armor was black and sharp, shaped like claws. They moved with speed and purpose. One of them touched the ground, sniffing the air. They're not after me, Tom whispered. They're after me, Velra said. I broke the challenge. I left the hunt. They come to finish what I didn't. Tom looked at her. Will they hurt you? They will not stop with me, Velra said. They will kill you too. Tom sat still for a moment, then stood. We'll split up, lead them away. Velra grabbed his arm. No. He looked at her. It's the smart move. Not anymore. She said, we stay together. We finish this. Tom was quiet. Then he gave a short nod. They began building traps. Tom used old wires and hidden pits. Velra sharpened wooden spikes and made alarms with metal scraps and pressure triggers. They didn't speak much. Their hands moved fast, practiced. By the time the sky turned orange, they were ready. They waited near a narrow path. The black-armored hunters came fast, 3 shadows slipping through the trees. The first one stepped on a trigger. A tree branch whipped forward and knocked him hard against a boulder. He fell and didn't move. The second turned toward the sound and fired. His blast missed, but it lit the woods. Tom ducked and rolled behind a log, then threw a smoke bomb. Velra dashed through the smoke and tackled the hunter. They fought hard. The hunter was strong, but Velra was faster. She struck with her elbow, then her knee, and slammed him into the ground. The third one appeared behind Tom. Tom turned, saw the glowing weapon, and ducked. But the blast hit his arm. He cried out and fell. The hunter stepped forward. Then Velra crashed into him, full force. She grabbed the hunter's neck and slammed him into a tree. The armor cracked. Sparks flew. The hunter struggled, but Velra held on. Tom stood slowly, holding his arm. When the last hunter dropped, the forest went quiet again. Tom sat down, breathing hard. Velra checked the bodies. They are done. Tom looked up at her. You saved me again. Velra knelt beside him. And you saved me by staying. Tom smiled. You could have left. You didn't. Velra paused. I don't want to leave. They sat there until the pain in Tom's arm calmed. Velra cleaned the wound and wrapped it with care. That night, they didn't speak much. The fire was small, hidden behind rocks, but the air felt safer. The danger had passed. Tom watched the stars. Do you think more will come? Velra nodded slowly. They always come. Tom didn't look worried. Then we'll be ready. Velra turned to him. Her voice was softer than ever. I don't want to be what they are anymore. I don't want to hunt to prove myself. I want something different. Tom looked at her. You already chose something different. She reached out and touched his hand. Then I'll stay, she said, if you let me. Tom didn't pull away. His hand stayed in hers. You're not a hunter now, he said. You're part of the forest, like me. Velra nodded. Then this is our place, and for the first time, they both felt like they belonged, not as enemies, but as something new. Morning light touched the forest floor gently. The trees stood still, like guards watching over the quiet ground. Smoke no longer rose from any fire. The threat was gone, for now, But Tom and Velra both knew peace in this world was always temporary. Tom sat by a rock, sharpening a wooden spear. His arm still hurt from the last battle. But the pain was dull now. He could move. He could fight if he had to. Velra walked quietly behind him, checking the traps they had not used. Her steps were soft, her eyes sharp. It had only been a few weeks since they met, but it felt longer. Tom had changed. So had she. Velra returned and sat beside him. The traps are still working, but I don't think anyone else is near. Tom nodded. Good, but we should still be ready. She looked at him and tilted her head. You always prepare, even when the danger is gone. Tom smiled faintly. That's how humans survive. We don't wait for trouble. We plan ahead. Velra looked at the trees. My kind waits for battle. We welcome it. We never plan for peace. Tom said nothing for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. Do you want peace now? Velra turned her eyes to him. I think I do, but I don't know what it looks like. Tom stood and picked up a small bag. He motioned toward the forest trail. Let's walk. They followed a path that led deeper into the valley. The air was fresh, and birds chirped nearby. The sun came through the branches, making soft light on their faces. Tom led her to a wide, quiet lake. The water was still. The mountains reflected in its surface. This place, Tom said, feels like peace. Velra knelt by the water, touching it with her hand. It's quiet, safe. He smiled. It's yours too, if you want it. Velra looked up. You trust me? Tom nodded. You could have left many times. You didn't. Velra looked at the sky, then back at Tom. Back home, I was a tool, a weapon. They shaped me to be strong, to fight, to win. But here, you let me be more. Tom sat beside her. I didn't do anything special. I just saw you. Velra looked into his eyes. Her voice was low. No one ever looked at me like that, not even my own blood. Tom was quiet. He picked up a small stone and threw it across the water. It skipped once, twice, then sank. You know, he said, I came to this planet thinking I'd die here. It was a punishment, a mission no one else wanted. But now, I think I was meant to find you. Velra touched her chest. I came here to earn honor by hunting you. But I found something I didn't understand. I felt hunger, but not for blood. Tom turned to her. What was it for? She looked down. Connection, safety, a reason to stop running. Tom placed his hand over hers. Then let's stay. Not forever, just for now. We'll make this our place. Velra didn't pull away. Her hand stayed under his. For the next few days, they built a shelter by the lake. It was small, made from wood and stone. Tom crafted walls. Velra shaped the roof with vines and leaves. They gathered food and planted seeds. Tom started drawing in the dirt ideas for a garden, maybe even tools. Velra added marks from her people, signs of strength and protection. At night, they sat under the stars, sharing stories. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they sat in silence. It wasn't empty silence. It was the kind that feels full. One evening, as the wind blew gently across the lake, Velra turned to Tom. My people will come again. Maybe not soon, but they will. Tom nodded. I know. They will ask why I didn't finish the hunt, why I stayed with the enemy. Tom's eyes didn't leave hers. And what will you say? She thought for a long moment. I will say I found something better than victory. Tom smiled. You found home. Velra nodded. Yes, I found home. The next morning, Tom stood on a cliff near the edge of the lake. Velra walked up beside him. He pointed toward the horizon. That mountain over there. I want to climb it one day. Velra raised an eyebrow. Why? To see what's on the other side, he said, and to prove I can. She smirked. Then I will come with you. He looked at her. Even if there's danger, she nodded. Especially then. They stood there for a while, the wind in their hair, the sun rising behind them. Tom had once been prey. Velra had once been a hunter. Now, they were both something new. Not enemies. Not strangers, but partners, survivors. A pair who found purpose in the middle of an unforgiving world, together. They had made peace, and together they would defend it. Whatever came next.